Welcome back to another Three Things with TarHeelIllustrated.com. This is THI publisher Andrew Jones, and I'm THI staff writer Chelsea Sipple. We're here after Carolina's win 79-53 against California here in the Dean E. Smith Center. So, AJ, this was a big win for Carolina. They really needed this to maintain consistency. And speaking of consistency, our first thing is that 15-0 run they went in the second half.
Well, yeah, they'd like to make it a consistent thing moving forward, and that was part
Yeah.
of the message coming into this game. I did a daily drop Tuesday about how the Heels
Mm-hmm.
needed to just kind of flex this week, and they need to beat Cal by 20 plus. They need to put them away, and I kind of thought that I wouldn't say the Heels were toying with them because this isn't a really good team yet that it can really toy with anybody. A lot of Carolina teams in the past have sort of done what this team did, and you kind of know that at some point they're just going to apply foot to throat and they're going to pull away. Well, you didn't know that with this team because they haven't really done that against anybody decent this year. When I say decent, I'm talking power conference, which is obviously the ACC. So Cal gets a couple of dunks, cut the lead to 48-39, and I'm thinking, well, okay. They even had it down to 39-33 at one point, too. They cut the lead
Mm-hmm.
to 48-39. It's 9 points. It's at that point where you think, okay, do the Tar Heels have it in them to put foot on throat and pull away? Because we haven't really seen that yet. We've seen them win some close games, and people are saying, well, they beat Notre Dame. They beat NC State. SMU's not that great. People have been saying stuff like that, and I've always believed that you got to win first. Learn how to win close games, and then you start to add to it and win in different ways and maybe pull away at times against teams that you should pull away from. That shows growth. So what they did was they went on a 15-0 run. Van Leuven had a couple of buckets. Cadeau had a couple. Withers had one. I think he had a 3 in that run. RJ Davis scored in that run. There was a lot of different guys doing a lot of stuff, and they got a lot of the points out of good defense. So it wasn't just guys making shots. It wasn't just one team really laying an egg during a stretch like Cal and another team just taking advantage. The Tar Heels forced them to. Carolina did a nice job defensively that we'll talk about here in a minute. And they did a nice job defensively in that sequence there to allow themselves to take advantage offensively. They weren't always taking advantage in the first half, especially the last 7 minutes of the half. They weren't very good offensively to close out the half and only led by 10 when I think they probably should have had a 20-point lead. Okay, well, that's a step down the road. They had to do this step first. So the 15-0 run, I think, is huge. And I think that's one of two signature things to take from this game and say, okay, they showed they could do that now. Now they've got to do it again and do it again because they're going to have a lot of games in the ACC, quite frankly, Chelsea, where they should pull away from teams. There are not a lot of really good teams in this league. And the ones that come in here, they got BC coming in here next week. They got Miami coming in here later. They got Stanford coming in this weekend. They're not bad, but Carolina should still pull away from them if they're a Carolina basketball team. A usual Carolina basketball team should do that. So we saw this happen for the first time, really. I think it's a big-time positive. The kids talked about it afterward. I think it was maybe Seth and Elliot. Elliot actually said, and I asked Hubert this question in the presser, Elliot said that last week after SMU, when they didn't do that, they built a 25-point lead, and the thing got down to 12. They didn't apply foot to throat. Elliott said they watched film of all the bad stuff and how they closed that game and how bad it was defensively. And he said today was the result of watching that film, that they learned from their mistakes and they learned that it was all in the defensive end. And you defend like crazy in the stretch and you get some runouts and get some decent looks, you score baskets, that's how you have a run. Runs aren't because of great offense. Runs are because of great defense. And they learned that and they applied it today. So that's a big-time positive moving forward.
Absolutely. And AJ, you're talking about scoring across the board. I have it noted right here. 8 UNC players finished with 5+ points. And we were talking about RJ Davis didn't have a huge scoring game tonight. And if you look at that compared to last season, the stat we've got is he only had 2 single-digit scoring games. And that was 8 points last year against UC Riverside and 9 points against Duke in the regular season finale. So the game really changes when you have that scoring across the board.
Well, it does, and I think what we're seeing, and he's had 2 of the last 4 where he's been single digits, but they win the game at Notre Dame, and he was a tremendous leader that night. Tonight he only took 9 shots, and I think that that's a good sign because he didn't force it. RJ's not playing to add stats to his resume. He's got a lot of stuff secure. He wants to win. And I go back to when I asked him in Louisville about being 8-6. He just puts his head down, shakes his head. I mean, you could see the pain on his face. He wants to win. And the fact that this team is able to win an ACC game by 26 points when RJ scores 7 points is another example of this club's growth. And to me, I think it's a great sign because Ian got a lot of his late. Elliott was sort of leading the way for a while. But this club has a variety of guys that will take shots now when they're there. We're seeing Jay Wash with the mid-range jumper tonight, which I asked, the first thing I said was, hey, we got to see the mid-range jumper. He started laughing. Jalen Withers converted the dunk on the break and then hit the three. I can't remember. I think it was Elliott. Elliott may have fed him or RJ fed him. He hit a three from the corner. So we're seeing guys come in and find ways to contribute. Lubin, I thought, had a pretty good game tonight. He had a couple of block shots, had those couple of buckets during that 15-0 run. So this is what it's going to take moving forward. They have to have all hands on deck. The guys that play have to contribute. And I think what they've done is they've found sort of a comfort level for everybody in how they can help this team win. And other than Cade Tyson, and I only say other than him because he didn't score tonight, everybody did that tonight. Yeah. RJ didn't have to do all that other stuff. Now, if you add last year's RJ to the mix for a game and everyone else is doing that stuff, then they become a team that can have a chance to beat the really good clubs out there. The one down the road, those two teams in Alabama, that kind of thing. They're a ways away from that, but they're showing signs of all these parts sort of coming together and gathering as they fly through the hemisphere. They're kind of gathering all these things up, and that is absolutely one of them. So for people who might dog RJ, you should instead say, wow, this team's growing. Because there's no way on earth they beat California by 26 points a month ago without RJ taking 18 shots. He took 9 tonight. So that to me is a sign of growth. And when you're in the middle of January and you're growing and you're noticeably growing each game, that's as if for fans that are watching this and that pull for this team and are all about the Church of Carolina basketball, that's all you can ask for right now. So they're learning, they're improving, they're growing. They just got to do it again. Got to keep stacking it. Then they'll have a chance to against a better team Saturday.
Absolutely. And AJ, you kind of touched on this for our second thing, but it's that defensive effort. And not only did Carolina hold California under 60 points tonight, but they held Stojakovic to 6 points. Yeah. And he's been a double-digit scorer all season.
Yeah, and when I say better team, I should clarify, better than Cal, not better than Carolina. Yeah, Stanford's not bad. Stanford's actually not bad. They're not far from, if for anybody that plays them on the road, they'd be a Q1 game. Yeah, Carolina was really solid defensively. They had a couple lapses where they got caught, some poor communication, and Cal's bigs were able to get some dunks. The first bucket scored by Stojakovic was when Cade Tyson left him on the baseline to go help when he didn't really need to help. And then it was a quick little backdoor for a dunk for Stojakovic. But he had 6 points. His third basket that gave him 6 was right before he came out. So he's a guy that came in averaging over 20 points a game. You could argue he's the second best offensive player in this league. You could argue that. I'm not saying he is, but you could argue he's a really good player. He's a future NBA player. His dad was an NBA player. He's a guy that stepped into the portal for a few minutes last spring, and North Carolina called right away. And then he went back to Berkeley. He's a really good player. North Carolina with that guy right now is pretty damn good. So what we saw Carolina do here is not only have a pretty good game defensively across the board against a club that was averaging about 78 points a game coming in, but they also set out to shut down a big-time scorer. And this has been something we haven't seen them accomplish along with other things this year. But today – they were able to shut him down, keep him to 6 points, and he was missing for a while. And on top of that, they were able, and I'm going to add this other thing to it, the defensive rebounding. They limited Cal to 24.4% grabbing their own misses. Cal came in at just under 40%. Now, they had 16 second chance points. They get a lot of offense off second chance points. I noted that in the 5 keys. But the fact that they only had, 11 offensive rebounds on 45 misses. Tar Heels did their job. So the two things they had to do defensively, in their minds, they had to slow or shut him down. They did that. And they had to keep Cal off the offensive glass. And while Cal's production per offensive rebound was high, there weren't a ton of offensive rebounds. And quite frankly, some of those points were late. And the Tar Heels did out-rebound them. So they executed their two defensive mantras for the game very, very well. And Adam Smith asked you, but a great question about you start the game with Drake on Stojakovic. Oh, and then you put in Seth Trimble. You got a long guy who's wiring, and all of a sudden you got the bounciest, most athletic dude this side of the Mississippi River guarding him. And that flustered a big-time player all night long. So, again, we're seeing little things come into place for this team. And quite frankly, these aren't little. These are big. They're going to play better teams moving forward, but you've got to show it against these clubs. You've got to continue, drawing a new line in the sand as you march closer to the ocean. And that's, I think, what they're doing right now. We'll see Saturday. They're going to get a better challenge Saturday, Chelsea.
Yeah.
And Jalen Washington's going to get a big challenge Saturday with Maxine right now coming in from Stanford. He's maybe the best big man in the league.
Yeah.
If Cooper Flagg's not considered a big man. Cooper's the best everything in the league.
Yeah.
But this is positive. This is 4 straight games where I've highlighted positives. We've highlighted positives because this team is showing growth. Don't worry if they're not in March form right now because it ain't March. But they're stacking growth and stacking wins at the same time. That's big. That's how you get better. That's what Roy's teams did. That's what Dean's teams did. And I got to hand it to Hubert Davis for all the criticism a lot of us have given him, and certainly people watching and listening. And there was just cause for criticism. He has tweaked, pivoted, and altered, which is one of his favorite terms. This team, their offensive approach is different now. Their defensive approach is different now. They communicate better on defense. They help out better defensively because he made such a point of that after the Louisville game. He hammered it home. Like, if we're going to do anything, guys, we're getting better in these two areas, and they have done that. They're still not great. They have a lot of room to grow, but they were at point minus. They were below 0 in Louisville. They were horrible defensively in the paint in Louisville. They're much better for a majority of the time tonight. They're going to have to be even better Saturday. But going into this game against Stanford, which is a losable game, this club has done everything you could possibly want it to do with showing parts the last 4 games to go into a contest like this in a very losable game before they go to Wake next week to kind of judge that, okay, 2 weeks ago, this club, when I think it was today's Wednesday, it was 2 weeks ago today. Did I do the Zoom with you? Did I do 3 things with you on New Year's Day? You or
oh
Brian,
gosh,
or Jacob?
one of us.
Like 8 years ago, but
Yeah.
today, I'm thinking this club ain't going to the NCAA tournament, and this is a disaster waiting to happen. They're in the process now. So much stuff, like you shake the tree, a lot of clutter falls. There's pretty good things on that tree, and now we can see, and they're blooming a little bit. They still got a long way to bloom, but they are blooming, and that's all you can ask for right now if you're a Carolina fan.
Absolutely. And AJ, you talked about this with the past 4 wins. In order to have a game like this tonight, you've got to win those other games. And this is what we've thrown around. I would say all recording for this. You wrote a piece on it. Our third thing is the foot on the throat. So for the viewers, kind of explain the pieces that put that together. Well,
just foot on throat. Teams have to get to a point in a game where they recognize, if you watch Wild Kingdom stuff, like Safari, when you get a wounded zebra, the lions don't chase the zebra in the front of the pack. Mm-hmm. The lion goes after the one that's limping at the back of the pack. And then they going for the kill, right? Well, Carolina had Cal limping. They had the Bears limping, and they had to go in for the kill, so to speak. And that's foot on throat. They put the foot on the throat. They built the lead up to 24 and eventually 26, the final margin, and did that when they sensed that Cal was ripe for the taking. And that's what this team didn't do against SMU. They had a couple of 9-point leads in the second half against State Saturday and didn't do it. One was just under 6 minutes left, and then State went on like a 9-0 run, 11-2 run, took the lead. So, and they had a chance to do it at Notre Dame. And they didn't close out at Louisville. They didn't close out against Florida. They didn't close out against Michigan State. They didn't close out against Kansas. Those are all foot on throat situations where at least you do it enough to win the game. Here, we're talking about separating, putting a team out of its misery, pulling away and winning comfortably. They did that tonight. It was a very, very, very important thing for them to do because they haven't really done it. So now if the opportunity is there Saturday against Stanford and you're 6 minutes into the second half and Carolina's up 12, do they push it to 22 or does Stanford make it, does Stanford trim it to 6? That's a foot on thread sequence that really good teams learn to do. Carolina fans know this. They've seen it for decades. They've seen it for more than a half century where North Carolina would do that in those situations. Now this team needs to do it again for us to have a little bit more belief that that's a part of who they are. But you can't become that until you do it once. Then you got to do it twice. And you got to do it a third time because they'll get BC in here next week, and that'll be another foot on throat opportunity.
Absolutely. And viewers should check out that piece you wrote, Foot on Throat. You know, a lot of good stuff in it talking about this Carolina basketball. Well, that concludes our 3 things. Again, UNC 79, California 53. I'm staff writer Chelsea Sipple. This is publisher Andrew Jones. And we'll be back Saturday against Stanford.
Saturday against Stanford. And like the video and subscribe. Remember, we're shooting for 20,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. And if you subscribe now and we get to 20,000 by February 28th, we're going to randomly choose somebody to win 2 free years of THI. You get it for free for 2 years.
That's a good deal right there.
Because a lot of the stuff that you think that we're telling you a lot of stuff here, but there's more on the boards. There's more that's premium content for a reason, because this is media is a business. It is. So you can get 2 free years of access to literally everything that we do. And we do a ton, as you guys should know. If you don't know, go find out. Go to our site and you'll see tons of stuff. So sign up, go and subscribe, and tell your friends to subscribe, and tell them to tell their friends to subscribe so we can get to 20,000, because Jacob Turner will be the happiest dude on the planet if we get to 20,000 by February 28th.
We'll do it for you, Jacob. All right. Well, thank y'all for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe.
Thanks.